Today I'm joined by Ben Davis from ClearComm, who provides strategic advice with respect to cybersecurity. Hi, Ben. You've seen a lot of developments in the cyber threat and security space of late. What are some of the key considerations for businesses operating in the energy, mining and renewable sector?
Yeah, thanks, David. Yeah, you're right. The threat is now considerably elevated, and this has been highlighted by the large attacks on the industry, with the latest example of being the Colonial Pipeline in the US, and then being out of production for over a week and costing, in excess of $10 million to restore their systems. And what we're finding in this sector is that some of the technology was never designed to be connected to a network, and through the advances of industry, it now makes commercial sense to operate that part of the business through central control, or they want better monitoring, for example, of those systems. And in turn, that opens a door for an attack or breach if the system isn't correctly implemented. And the other issue is the agility of the sector in terms of how the pandemic has affected it. And what I mean by this is many businesses have not invested in the cloud networks or IT portability to enable the workforce to work from home effectively. And when the need arose from COVID, the businesses were just ill-equipped to allow this to happen quickly, and leaving us exposed to all sorts of issues. And what I mean by this is working remotely when this should be done by secure devices, and the sort of lack of testing VPN links, or even down to the security of each employee's home router. So David, I'd say there's been enormous developments in this area, and the risk just continues to grow.
Certainly a lot to unpack in that. Are there any specific areas of concern you have identified during the work you've been performing for businesses?
Yes, David, the areas of concern affects the organization as a whole. And that's, companies rely on technology in order to operate. And using this only makes them more vulnerable to an attack or breach. So fundamentally, the question then becomes, where should a company start in the mitigation of such a threat? And I would break this into three sectors for the purpose of painting a picture. So the first is to identify your risk. And this is the understanding the cybersecurity threats relevant to your organization, such as email account takeover, web application attacks, network security breaches, and the susceptibility to phishing. Then secondly, protect your assets. Take steps to shore up your cyber defenses in the areas where you're most exposed. And what I mean by this is, or for example, carry out an audit of your Microsoft 365 to improve the security configuration. Make sure you test your web applications and networks for security vulnerabilities through penetration testing, and provide effective staff security awareness through learning and simulated phishing attacks. Then importantly, make sure you measure the effectiveness of these actions. And then thirdly, detect, respond and recover. Cybersecurity breaches are almost inevitably in the current climate. Make sure you put measures in place to help you detect, contain security breaches quickly. Plan and practice your response to a security breach. I think what people forget, if you have a breach, cybersecurity breaches are chaotic in nature, and you need a steady hand to make sure you deal with these effectively. And if you do suffer a breach, you take the time to learn from the incident to improve your response. And I think, David, this is just a snapshot for the sector. There's so much more that we can all do.
Yes, thanks. So, Ben, do you have a closing statement to help this sector?
Well, as you know, David, we at ClearComm would always advise organisations to get their cybersecurity planning and operation now, and don't leave it until after the event. Never be afraid to seek external advice from qualified experts. So surely it's better to be prepared. Otherwise, the inevitable is only waiting for failure. In the event of attack, only to go on and affect that business and the employees, and it's the reputation. And in the words of Kofi Annan, I think this is really powerful. Knowledge is power. Information is liberating. Education is a premise of progress in every society, in every family. And I believe this should directly translate into every company looking inwardly at its preventative measures relating to cybersecurity.
Well, thank you for your time today, Ben. Certainly some really good advice in that for people to take away. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, David.